Good morning, everybody. I hope you all are fine. So, let's begin with today's session, that is the revision of separation of mixture. Let's have a look on the topics of today. We were discussing about the mixture of solids and liquid. Today we are going to learn about one more method to separate the solids from liquid, that is chromatography. It's a technique of separating two or more than two dissolved solids which are present in a solution but in a very small quantity. There are many types of chromatography, but the simplest one is the paper chromatography. So today we will be learning about paper chromatography. By using paper chromatography, we can separate two or more than two different substances present in the same solution. This separation is based on the fact that two or more substances soluble in the same solvent, but the rate of their solubilities may be different. Some of the solute particles are more soluble than others. For example, black ink contains a number of dyes dissolved in water. These dyes have different solubilities in water. This principle is used to separate the different color components present in the black ink. Now you can see the slide easily and how we can go through this process of chromatography. In the first slide, you can see that first of all we have to take a chromatography paper, or we can also take a filter paper. Now, when the drop of this ink has dried, the filter paper strip is dipped into a tall glass jar which contains some amount of water, but that is at its lower part. Okay. Now, this filter paper strip is held vertically and it should dip in water, but the pencil line should remain above the water level in the jar, as you can see from the slide. Now, what will happen? The water gradually rises up the filter paper by the capillary action. As water moves up the paper strip, it takes along the dyes, that is colored components present in the ink. The dye or the color component which is more soluble in water, it dissolves first and rises faster and produces a color spot on the paper at higher position. The less soluble dye dissolves a little later and it rises slower and forms the color spot at lower heights. In this way, we can say that all the dyes which are present in the black ink get separated at different positions. When the water reaches near the top end of the filter paper, the paper strip is removed from the jar and it dried up. Now, we get the paper with its separate colored spots, and this paper now is known as chromatogram. This chromatogram we are obtaining having three spots, or you can say that having three colored spots. So it means the sample of ink has three components mixed in it. Now let's have a look on the upcoming video for better understanding of chromatography.
This video shows an example of a chromatography experiment. The goal of the experiment is to separate the different pigments of ink which are present in a wet erase marker, which we'll see right here. So a vis-a-vis marker is wet erase, which means that the pigments are water soluble. We'll start our experiment by drawing a line with the marker on the chromatography paper. Then what we want to do is insert that chromatography paper into a beaker with a small volume of water in it. We can see that the water will start to rise up the chromatography paper because of capillary action. You'll note this happening very quickly because this is 16 times speed playback. We can see that the ink, which originally looked black, is starting to separate into different colors. This is because the different pigments have different properties. Some of them are heavier, some are lighter, some are more soluble in water, some are less. Because of these differing properties, all of the different colors are going to travel at different speeds. And by the completion of our experiment, we should see some very nice separation of the different pigment colors.
I think now the process of chromatography is clear to everyone. Now let's have a look on the application in our day-to-day life about this process. It is used to separate the solutions having color components, like one example we have already seen, that is dye. In fact, the solutions having color pigments can also be separated into different pigments by this process of chromatography. It is also used in the forensic department to detect and identify the type of the substances like poison which are present in different body parts of the human being or any other living organism. In the chemical reaction, it is also used to separate the small amount of products which are formed during the chemical reaction and have their uses in small industries. Now time for assignment. I have given you two questions related to the topic of today, that is chromatography. Please have a look on these questions and write down in the registers. Afterwards, if any query, please write down in the comment box. Thank you and have a nice day.